All right, welcome, welcome. We are today talking about member acquisition 101 with our very own Mike Phillips, and he's going to teach us how to turn attention into community members. So excited for that. We all need that, I think. Um, so I'm just going to do a quick intro for Mike. Usually he's running these and he's introing, but we thought it would be odd for him to intro himself. So we'll let you off the hook this time, Mike.
Thank you. I
So
was willing, for the record. Let the record
I
show.
know
I
he
was
was.
willing.
He was like, it would be kind of funny. So Mike is the head of marketing at Heartbeat, and he's also a community member, just like you. He was promoted from customer to team member based on his extensive marketing skills, his growing subscription business, and his passion for the power of community. So, with a career total of over, Mike, I read this and I was like, what?
It's
Over
true.
$30 million in marketing driven growth. Mike has worked with businesses from first time solopreneurs to venture funded tech companies over the last 2 decades. That's quite an accomplishment, Mike. Um,
Thank you.
so Mike's community is called The Gym, and it's a community where hundreds of online entrepreneurs grow stronger businesses and brands. Members make real progress, grow their revenue backed by a crew of tenacious entrepreneurs eager to help solve problems and hold each other accountable. So, with that, Mike, I will let you take it away.
Well, that it's very fun being on the other side of that intro, I have to say. This is so much more fun.
Like, oh, people get to say nice things about me.
Yes. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for everybody who's watching the recording, for folks who are here. Just want to kick it off by saying, yeah, so okay, yeah, the big numbers, right? Big vanity metrics in the intro and bio about me. But just to dig in a little bit more, I am a community builder. I have my own community business. I have members who pay me. I have a freemium community, so I have a bunch of members who don't, members who do, and like, how do I move people and activate them between that? But outside of being a community builder, yeah, if you take all the different types of marketing roles in my career and all the different go-to-market roles in my career, and you look at like working with solopreneurs and the consulting that I've done with them, if you look at the tech companies I've worked for, different stages and sizes of orgs over the years, and you add up all of the different results from all the different campaigns at all the different places I've worked, I keep track of this number, and it's crossed $30 million in growth across all of that revenue. I grow businesses very well for other people. That is the strength that I have. And much like a doctor needing to take their own advice or a cobbler needing to fix the holes in their shoes, I'm also very much like everybody who might be taking this lesson. I have a fledgling community business that is not making $30 million, but maybe, hey, I can dream. And so I can take all the lessons that I've learned from the different aspects of my career and apply them to the business. And that's what I've been doing for myself and for the members in my own community called The Gym, which, by the way, is a fitness metaphor. It's about putting in the reps over time to achieve the progress and goals that you want. We have no fitness requirements for people who are business owners in that community. But yeah, I wanted to jump into the presentation today. Kim, I do want to ask you, because you're here, just for context, where are you at in your community building journey? Just contextualize that for me, and then I'll modify a little bit of this to where you're at.
Okay, the doors are open. I have my
Okay.
first members.
That's
Mhm.
exciting.
So, yep,
Congratulations.
literally today, my first paid member.
That's a
Yay.
milestone. That
That
is
is a
the
big
hardest step.
milestone. That
Yes.
is something to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. So I opened the doors a month ago to some invited guests to come and check everything out, just test everything behind the scenes to see what was happening with it. Did a few tweaks and sent some personal invites out to people. Yesterday and today, just to and the first person has joined, and I've had some messages from others saying, yes, I'm out, I'll join later. So yeah, so I'm feeling quite pleased that the Big Soul Network, as it's called, now has 8 members sitting in there.
I remember that feeling when you get that first one is nothing better. So I have done marketing in my career over time where I have, done bigger projects, like bigger revenue, big product launches. But boy, that first member, it just feels different. It hits different. And I'm excited for where you're at. It's very exciting. It's a fun point in the journey.
Yep.
I'll shout out a quick hello to Jessica. I don't know if you're just going to listen in or if you're able to come on camera, but it'd be great if you can. If not, no worries. But we're just saying hi there as I introduce myself and the topic to the group and this recording. So welcome, welcome. Yep, we're diving into a little bit about how do we acquire members? How do we do this? And it sounds like some folks in this cohort are probably in a similar boat to you, Kim. I'm thinking either the doors just opened or maybe you opened them last month or you plan to open them next month. This is the first 6 months of this cohort of people who started the end of November, beginning of December. And let's just look at this now. Okay, the first few are in the door. That's exciting, right? That's a hard barrier. But now we have to think, okay, if I want this to be a sustainable business, acquiring members over time is going to be very important.
Mhm.
Why? Obviously, growing is important. Having a certain amount of revenue is important. But also, there's going to be a natural attrition that happens over time. People will either graduate from the transformation that you promised them because you did your job and you gave them the outcome they wanted, or like life stuff happens. Like not even like you doing a bad job. It's just, hey, family struggles, economic things, like things happen, right? So the rule that we need to consider is that growth is actually playing defense. Growth of members is actually very proactive to plan ahead for the month where you might lose onesie twosies. And I feel every single one that happens. And churn mitigation would be a whole great topic. We have some recordings on that in the Hearth you can catch on. But I want to talk about the 101 of getting members in the door. And what does that look like, especially if you're maybe bootstrapping, right? You're not coming into this. Some of my experience is like, hey, Mike, here's a $100,000 ad budget for a company I've worked for. Great. That is a totally different play than most of what we're doing, right? So how do we make this happen? And that's what I want to get into today. And of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to just come off mute and shout the question out at me. If you want, you can always just drop it in the chat. We'll make sure we circle back to them. And if you're thinking a question, please, there is no dumb question. There is no need to feel self-conscious. If you're thinking it, someone else is probably thinking it. We could all benefit from an answer. So that's what I'd ask for you guys to share if we can today. And I am going to try to pull up a quick slide share here. Uh, do, do, do. Okay, let me see if that does this. Share. Awesome. And I will share this here. I got so used to not being on Zoom, Misty.
I know.
All right. And I want to continue seeing the meeting so I can look at you guys up here and have my screen down here. Awesome. Okay.
We can see your
So
screen.
you're good. Awesome. Here we go. All right. So this is the fourth session of the Black Friday cohort. So everybody who got invited to this series of coaching sessions are folks who got in during the Black Friday Cyber Monday season, if you will, during the end of November, early December. Large cohort of folks who just decided to kick things off. And what we did is we had that special package where you didn't have to worry about like renewals or anything for 6 months, which is great. We could just focus on learning and building and iterating. And over the course of this series, we have talked about goal setting, we've talked about the product, we've talked about getting paid, automations, and now marketing. So I want to kick off with what are we going to do to get more members in our communities, right? So member acquisition 101 with me. This is near and dear. This is probably the scariest thing that we face is, will anybody like my thing, right? And it's very hard in the early stages to also know if you're seeing a signal of success or noise, because sometimes our sample sizes are really small. If you ask 10 people to join a community and half of them say no, does that mean you're a 50% bad offer? No, it could just be a weird bad guess that those first 10 people weren't the right fit. Or maybe the 5 people who didn't join because it was a great fit. They joined it because they like you personally, right? So there's a lot of product market fit learning that takes place early on. And so acquiring members is as much a learning process as it is an economic activity to grow the feasibility and sustainability of our communities. So I wanted to give you just, again, Misty did the bio on me, but I want to like just contextualize this a little bit. So I run all of the marketing at Heartbeat. So it's not like it's a big team. I don't have a director. Misty and I work together, but other than that, it's not like we have like 10 marketers over here doing our thing. Everything that we promote, from ads to organic newsletters to social media, YouTube, all of this just comes out of me and Misty and a little bit of help here and there from some contractors, right? that's not that different from what the average community builder is at. Our size is actually fairly comparable to what an individual community builder will do. Of course, you're going to wear a multiple hat where you're going to like run the community and then market the community. So that's something to bear in mind too, is that you're going to have to make yourself two jobs of do the community and then sell the community. But everything that you see that I'm doing here is almost directly applicable. Like we're not doing anything vastly different marketing wise than what would apply to growing a community. I have 2 decades in go-to-market roles. GTM is going to market. This is basically customer-facing, money transacting roles. So different types of marketing and sales roles throughout my career. Like I said earlier, if you add it all up of all the campaigns that I've done, different employers over the years, different ventures of my own and different clients, it's $30 million in total growth. So these things, the strategies I'm going to teach you today have worked across a variety of contexts and have produced a cumulative high impact of results. Any slice of this is going to work work well for other folks here. And I'm a community builder. So I have the gym. That's a community for online entrepreneurs to help them grow stronger businesses and brands. It's basically a community-based consulting model where folks are members. They provide accountability to one another. I provide coaching at a one-to-many scale or at the higher levels at a one-to-one scale, depending on where people are able to invest based on their growth journey. Some folks are at the free tier. Some folks are all the way up at the individual consulting tier and folks in between. But I built that business and I built it on Heartbeat, and I wasn't beholden to Heartbeat. I was just a regular person like everybody on this call. I looking for the right platform to start my business, found Heartbeat, looked at some competitors, was like, wow, Heartbeat actually connects this community to learning concept better than the competitors do. I'm gonna start there. It's in my budget. I'm gonna start there. And then I started making money with it, and I'm like, I'm not leaving. And then I started showing up to more of the town halls, more of the beta. I got to do some beta programs, and it was just a slippery slope from there to just helping grow the tool itself. So I'm going to bring that to this call today. When we go to acquire members, there are psychological stages that our buyers need to go through. In order for them to spend money, in order for anybody to spend money, they need to know you exist. They need to like you. People don't usually spend money with people they dislike. Let's just put it that way. They need to trust you, and then only then will they buy from you. This is, if you boil down all the different funnels and looping and like nurture sequence and all this stuff, all of it fits into achieving the task of moving folks from one step to another step in this very simple process. If we can do this well, we will take a person from blissfully unaware to a loyal customer. The trick is, how do you do this to the market at large, to your audience at large, when you'll probably have a bunch of people across all the different steps? And that is what we're getting into today. So I created a diagram to kind of just show the different stages, right? So all of those transformations of knowing you, liking you, trusting you, and buying from you begin with step 1 at the top of the funnel. And this is, I don't know. I don't know who you are. I don't know what I need. I barely know that I have any symptoms. That's all. I don't know. I am blissfully ignorant and unaware. At this stage, most people only know that they have a symptom, some sort of visceral pain, either that's a fear or either a physical problem or an emotional problem, that this is a problem. They don't know necessarily why it's happening. I like to give medical analogies. This is very easy to understand. This would be like, my arm is numb. Okay. That could be a heart attack. That could be bad. Like, you probably want to address that problem. But all they're thinking about is not how your aorta or your ventricles or your valves function. What they're thinking about is numbness in the arm. Let's do something about that. Maybe. So they have no awareness of the problem or of the solutions out there. They're just unaware. All they know is the symptom they're experiencing. This is probably the first time that you encounter someone. You are discovered by new audience members when you speak to the pains, to the symptoms that they're experiencing. And so how do we engage people at this level? And then how do we move them from unaware to aware of the problem that they have and potentially thinking about ways to do something about it? So you search, usually early on, you're going to do discovery motions. At the top of this funnel, you're going to take all of the people who don't know who you are, but have that numb arm symptom in this analogy that we're talking about. And we need to make sure they discover you. They are aware of who you are. There's a couple of different ways to do this. Organic social feeds are a great way to get attention because they're free if you're bootstrapping. The challenge is they're not beholden to distribute your content, the feeds. They're only going to surface the most engaging content that keeps the viewers on the feed the longest. That's not going to sell someone. They're just going to discover you if the content you produce is distributed far and wide and therefore reaches people who would consume that sort of content. And I specify feed attention. This would be the LinkedIn feed, vertical video on YouTube, TikTok, the scrolling, organic surfacing of content. You are discovered in that space. There are other channels too. SEO. So organic searching, and this could be Google, Bing, Yahoo. I mean, I don't know how many people use other search engines anymore, but there are ones out there, DuckDuckGo. You search for answers to questions. What does it mean when I have a numb arm? Solutions for a numb arm problem. These sorts of long tail queries are people who are expressing that I have a symptom, but I'm not saying top 10 best numb arm solutions. I'm not searching for, is numb arm medicine A better than numb arm medicine B? They're just saying, what do you do when you have a numb arm? Like that's sort of early discovery. And SEO manifests itself in a lot of different ways. This can be how-to videos on YouTube. It can be guide documents that you publish in blogs. It can be any sort of I'm going to say use the term well-indexed content that is structured and so that it can be served up as an answer to a query. If I'm talking about like the most cutting edge stuff, this conversation wouldn't have existed, by the way, 3 years ago. Zero-click SEO, search engine optimization, zero-click SEO is now a thing. If you ever Googled something and you know they have the Google synopsis at the top, but then there's the links below it. Now, how do you create content that becomes that answer? Up there is one of the things that if you look at like the advanced side of SEO, that's a question. How do you get your site to be the answer that ChatGPT provides you? When you ask ChatGPT for, give me an example of service providers who do ABC, how do you become that, right? That's another channel. And of course, the final channel from organic social feed to SEO discovery is paid media. So paid media can be ads like Google ads, LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads. It can also be sponsored content. This can be, I will put an ad in someone else's newsletter for a fee. I will pay a YouTuber to mention my product for a fee. You maintain access to this reach for as long as you pay. That is the final channel. And for bootstrapping, that may or may not be viable. Depending on the way that you're doing things, you might look at a campaign of just saying, of an organic, like you speak to the pains in the organic feed. But if you're going to put an ad out there, you usually need to make sure you're delivering some level of value, some level of not direct conversion value, but value that makes the content worthy of consumption. And so a lot of times that's where people will put out, different sorts of diagnostic content. So you think about this, hey, you have a numb arm. Do you also have chest pain? Numb arm plus chest pain means you have, you could be having a heart attack as an example. Things that make really great organic content tend to make really great ads if ever you go into that space. But most people, I think, and this is what I did when I began my journey, was go with the free channels. Social feed attention, SEO, organic search results, and then you can expand into ads once you have a sense of knowing what works. If we go to the next stage, by being discovered, we have moved people from unaware of who you are, unaware of their problems, to an awareness state. They now aware that I'm having a heart attack. Okay, there are people who address heart attacks in this world. I'm pretty sure they're called doctors, right? That's about the state that they're at, So the next goal, once they know you exist, is how do you get them to like you? How do you get them to develop affinity for who you are and the way you show up in the marketplace? This is where deep content that showcases your expertise comes into play. So the feed experience is different. A feed, they'll consume if the content is presented to them. They will consume that content, watch the video, read the post, whatever it is, if it comes up. But they're not seeking you out. They're not taking a minute, putting in their headphones and listening to something. They're just going to catch it and maybe keep scrolling. That's an awareness stage. When you want to move people from awareness to affinity, you need to get them to start consuming in a focused way. And how do you do that? By starting to deliver diagnostics. Now that they're aware they have a problem, they want to start knowing how to solve it. And so that deeper diagnostic content is where you begin to get some leverage here. And this can come out in a couple of different ways. I find YouTube to be an extremely impactful stage of this journey. You can't guarantee YouTube's going to surface every video you publish. But if you have content that is worth consuming that you might be able to disseminate or distribute to people who are aware of you, that's going to really help. Once people show that they're aware of you, YouTube might recommend a deeper video. After they watch a short from you, they might get a long video served up from you in your recommended feed. Newsletters also give you the length, the breadth and depth of space to start to showcase your expertise. This channel, you get a little bit more control over distribution for. You get to be able to, if you have someone's email address, send them the content versus hoping to index well or hoping that other content's not out competing you in the surfacing of YouTube videos. You can combine them and you can email people YouTube video links. You can do that. And then I do want to emphasize podcasting here too. So podcasting has probably the worst discovery of all of these on here. Most people don't like accidentally stumble upon a podcast. They don't like listen to a podcast and get recommended another podcast. There's not like a lot of feeds for different shows. You have to go look for the podcast show. But what does it do? It puts your voice in their ear for 10 to 40 minutes on average when they listen. Imagine if you got 500 people in a room to just listen to you for the better part of an hour. They're gonna start to understand a lot about what you do and trust and start to like the way you speak. And some people won't. Some people will listen and leave, and that's okay. They weren't your customers anyway, right? What you want is the people who do stick around and start like come up after the stage to the stage after you're done speaking, so to speak, and ask you questions. That deeper level of consumption is a filtering of folks who are just going to be great followers but never customers, and people who are going to want to consume and understand the way you think and get more attached to the way you approach the problems. If you achieve that, they have an affinity for you. So I want to give an example of what this looks like. My phone is old. My phone is old. I need to get a new phone. I'm getting an iPhone. I don't need to shop for an iPhone. I don't need to shop between different offers for different phones. Why am I getting an iPhone? Because I am a sucker for good marketing. I'm a nerd. I am a marketing nerd, and I love the way that Apple's marketing department presents their products. The copywriting that they use, the visuals that they use, speak to the creative part of me. And sure, yeah, other phones out there do great things other than iPhones. They probably function the same or better in many ways, but I'm not buying on features. I'm buying based on affinity for that brand. And you want to have people who, when they're in market for something, when they're ready to buy, when the budget and the timing is right, they like you, so you're top of mind. That's what the goal of affinity achieves. And the best way to do this is with deep content. So to recap, we have awareness. We take people from unaware to aware by being discovered, either by paying to show up or by drawing people in by earning attention in organic channels. Then we take them from aware to having affinity for you by using deep content to get them to have trust and an attachment and just enjoying the way you speak about the problems, the way you like to solve the problems. Once you do that, people know and like you. But for people to spend money with you, they need to trust that you're going to do what you say, that you will deliver what you promise. And so how do we start building that? That step is by creating a series of elevating reciprocity arrangements, of exchanges, right? The simplest one is I will surrender my email and you give me a free thing. And I know you're going to wind up emailing me because that's usually the way things go. This is like a standard lead magnet model. I would like a guidebook. It is free. I will give you this email address. And as long as the guidebook over delivers, the emails are relevant and valuable and not like a direct sales pitch right away, what they're going to do is build on each step of trust. It starts further back where they start consuming your content and you're consistent and there's valuable. And it's like, oh, okay, the next video was good. The next video was good. The next newsletter was good. The next podcast was good. But what if this first offer is, okay, I got your email, you're in my ecosystem. What if I offer you a $1 book? The book is worth $15, but I'm going to give it to you for $1. And it's going to be 50 pages of really great workbook solutions to some problem that you have. Okay, you know what? I signed up. You didn't pitch me right away. I got value. You've been emailing every Monday like you said you would. If I give you $1, I'm probably going to get this book and it's probably going to be okay. It's a trust triggering moment where they're like, okay, I will elevate what I give just a little bit and see if I get the same thing back. And then if they give you that $1 or that low cost, that low risk offer, you can give them value and they're like, wow, I got this much value for $1. What if I spent more money with them? How much value would I get then? There's a natural, this is the same way we build relationships with new strangers that we meet, right? Maybe you bump into somebody at the park. I recently did this when I was taking my child to the zoo. We bumped into a family there and kids are playing and now by default the parents are talking. You know, this is just like how things happen, right? And there was this moment where we're like, oh, we've been exchanging ideas and we're not mad at each other yet. And we both responded the same way to the kids when they did a thing, that we're not misaligned on that. And I asked them to like hold my umbrella while I went to go do something. And I came back and they didn't run away with my umbrella. Like there was like a small moment of like, hey, you didn't steal from me. Because it was just an umbrella. I didn't hand you my social security number. I didn't hand you my passport. I handed you an umbrella. Like it was a low moment, but it worked. And then like, oh, here, hold this. And somebody like puts their, like, watch my stroller, please. The stroller's got a purse in it. I didn't steal the purse. They came back. Hey, guess what? I'm not a purse thief. Great. Okay. There are these elevating moments. And eventually it's like, well, I don't think you're a serial killer. So why don't you come over the house sometime? Right. There was like just a genuine moment where like we got to the point where there was enough evidence. Okay, let's meet up at the zoo again. We'll meet up at the zoo again. And then you know what? Let's meet up at home. I'll tell you where I live. All of a sudden, we get to this point where like there's trust built. Your customers are going to go through the same thing, but they need to do it in the context of what your brand is known for and what the solutions you offer are. What does your community offer as a promise of that membership? And so you start by stacking up. Like, how do you go when you climb a really big, like a jumbo staircase? If you think about this like visual of a big staircase, if the staircase is taller than you are, how are you going to get up to that first step? The first step is just subscribe to my membership, please. That's what I want. It's not even my premium offer. It's just my basic membership. It's $50 a month, right? Or whatever it is. You need to stack blocks to be able to climb there. And those blocks are small moments of reciprocity where you prove with consistency over time that you do what you say, that you over deliver on exchanges, and then they become more and more willing to spend more and more money. And this compounds. It's not like $1, then $2, then $3. It's $1, then $2, then $4, then $8, then $16, then $30. It's an exponential compound where over time, before they know it, they're like, oh, Kim came out with a $600 offer. Okay, Kim's offers are great. Do I need this? I do. Do I have budget? Yes, I'm going to buy it because they have trust established with you. There is a point where people get to that. And that's where you have those like true fans, those raving champion fans that will constantly buy from you because it doesn't matter what it costs. You have built such trust with them. And it's a two-sided street. They have to be a good fit customer and you have to have built the trust. And as long as both are there, you'll continue to grow your membership and your community business. So when they like you and you start offering these moments of reciprocity and trust, you are making them, these moments of reciprocity, you are building trust with them. And after a certain amount of trust happens, they start to establish through circumstances that they have interest in actually affecting the problem that they now know they have, that they now know you can solve, that they now trust your expertise for. So how do you take someone who's in market and make them buy? When they're in market people, by the way, you can't, this is a misnomer in marketing. You can influence someone's willingness and readiness to buy. You cannot manufacture their willingness and interest to buy. You can not put money in their pocket they don't have. You could offer financing, but that doesn't, if they still can't make the payments, they still can't make the payments. Like there's only so much control we have. You cannot make them be in a good be readiness to buy. Let's say you have a cohort that starts on Wednesday and they're like, I'm going to be on an airplane on Wednesday and I'm not going to miss the first lesson. I can't buy that because I have this critical thing I'm doing. None of that you can control. You can create a little bit of urgency. You can incentivize actions, but you can't manufacture their willingness to buy. So when people come in market, all of these steps before moving them from interest to sale have to be constantly running and in place so that when they come in market, you can apply this last little bit of leverage of social proof and success to get them to move forward. So that is worth emphasizing. Social proof of success is, at the most basic level, other people like you solved a problem like you have and had this outcome that you want. That's the structure for social proof. Now, it's great if you can have your mom give you a glowing testimonial, right? But if you're not selling to other people just like your mom, they're going to look at that testimonial and they'll be like, this isn't me. Like if I'm going to a site for like my community that's for online entrepreneurs who want to grow stronger businesses and brands and learn, get marketing consulting, but I have a testimony about how great Mike was at his very first job designing kitchens. Cool. Good for you, but that's not really helping me make a decision on this right now, is it, Mike? You know, that's what I would expect a customer to say. The testimonials, whether they are text, video, a whole collection of smiling faces, a variety of the things that we provide for you guys in the landing pages and Heartbeat, should be directly relevant so that people can feel like they're being held up a mirror to themselves. I see the people who come to my landing pages see themselves in the testimonials, because the testimonial givers are people who are online entrepreneurs who were struggling with getting traction and making real progress, who benefited from accountability, who benefited from marketing solutions, and got far more than the membership value out of being a part of the community. So the next person who comes around who's finally aware of who I am, they like the way I market myself, they have an affinity for the way I approach problems, and they're finally interested. They see themselves and they're like, you know what? If this person who is like me got the outcome that I want with a problem I'm having, given my trust level with Mike, I'm most likely going to get the same or similar results I'm in. And that's what we need to help members experience when you promote your community. They need to be able to see themselves on that landing page so that they click sign up and they move forward and become a member in your community. I'm going to take a quick pause for a sec. Did we have any questions here? I'm going to get into some application nuances here, but I wanted to make sure this conversation about what the funnel and the journey looks like hit home and made sense. Any questions so far? Looking good? Okay. All right. We got nods. We got smiles. I dig it. Okay. So how do we execute these things, right? This is why it's important and what we need to do, but now how do we do it, right? So I did emphasize this early on at the top of the funnel that you can take organic or paid or both approaches to generating awareness. When it comes to organic and paid, many of us don't actually have that choice. Maybe our business and financial circumstances don't present us with the option to do a paid media strategy. Maybe we don't have the expertise, which would mean we not only need to pay for the ad itself, we need to pay for somebody to help us run the ad. And then that's a cost factor. And many bootstrapped businesses early on choose not to do that. When Heartbeat first launched, we ran no ads. We did a variety of other motions, organic and influencer marketing and other things that we tried to do that were in the budget of what we had. And we grew. And now we do run ads. And so what I'm trying to point out here is that the funnel evolves as your business evolves. When I first started the gym community, my own business, I did organic discovery and I just invited people by DMs to be my launch beta cohort, right? Like that's just, I sent out like 60 DMs and I got like 28 people to say yes. And they became my starting founding members people. And like, that was what I did. That is not scalable. But sometimes when you first start, the not scalable stuff is such a competitive advantage because no one's doing it. Nobody's willing to hop on a meeting to talk with you about joining a community, right? And so some of that early non-scalable stuff is a great strategy. Um, that said, when you get a good sense of what your conversion from those conversations to subscribers looks like, or what do your subscribers to your email ratio, how many of them ultimately buy after how long, you can start doing some simple arithmetic and being like, okay, if I had 100 email subscribers and 10 of them became members inside of a year, I have a 10% email to purchase rate. If my membership is $1, I'm going to keep the math easy here. If the membership's $1, I know that I make $10 for every 100 email subscribers I get. Okay, what's it cost for me to get 100 email subscribers if I paid for an ad? That's the question you ask. And if it's less than $10, you might have a profitable growth engine. If it's obviously you don't want to spend $10 to make $10 because then you're just doing it for like the vanity metrics of having a ton of numbers. You're not making money. But let's say you could spend $1 on ads and make $10 on the back end. I might do that. Like that eventually becomes the thing that you work. And that's how you make the decision. What I would do is, if it were me, which again, I'm not that far off of a lot of people in this cohort. My community is 2 years old. So I'm like a little ahead of where folks are who's just starting. Early on, it was non-scalable, one-to-one outreach. I started developing an organic strategy to be able to develop more awareness. I started building out affinity, long-form content, including YouTube and newsletters to get more attention that way. And I started offering low-ticket offers, including from a lead magnet exchange all the way up to just a couple of bucks to do something early on. I built a freemium model for my community so they could try to become a free member and stay a free member. That's about as low risk as it gets. There's no cost, but you do have to make a profile, and then I know who you are. I did those things. And then once I got, now I'm over 100 members in the community, I said, okay, I'm going to start experimenting with paid acquisition. And I'm going to start saying that I know that this lead magnet worked. I wonder if I could get it to work by reaching 10,000 people with an ad versus 1,000 people a week organically. And I just decided to test that. And I'm still learning the outcomes of this data experiment. Once I have results, I'll be able to make decisions. But that's an important point to consider. The other thing to consider is that you are serving the market as a whole. While we introduce these steps as a path, as like a linear do this, then this, then this, when you talk to people, when you engage with your audience, you've got people who are aware, people who are unaware, people who like you, people who maybe aren't sure if they like you yet, you got folks who are ready to buy and just waiting for you to ask them, all mixed in one big bucket, right, out there in the world. So your marketing is not on Monday do awareness, on Tuesday do affinity, and on Wednesday do interest, and on Friday you close the deal. I don't want you to think about it like you're a sales rep moving a prospect through a funnel. You have to think about it the way a marketer would, which is on Monday, I've got 1,000 people who just became aware of me. I've got 100 people who like me. I've got 10 people who are interested, waiting for some social proof, and maybe I can offer them what they need to see to buy. So I need to publish organic discovery content that's really good at scooping up new audiences. I need to offer deep consideration content that can build people's affinity for me and move them down funnel. Ideally, maybe deplatforming a bunch of them so I can continue having a little bit more leverage over distribution of that content. And then I need to start building trust through reciprocity of promising something and then delivering on that promise, and then moving that promise into some economic promises of $1 for something, $50 for something, $500 for something. And then you start climbing that ladder towards the offer that you really want to sell, high ticket or low ticket. And you have to kind of do all of these different things at the same time. And that's where things can feel a little overwhelming. You're like, okay, Mike, you're saying I got to do 4 different simultaneous marketing motions at the same time. You have to achieve 4 outcomes, but it doesn't have to feel like you're doing 4 different jobs. And that's what I wanted to emphasize, is that if you create the deep content that showcases your expertise, you can repurpose that long content into shorter content with some good editing and some good hooks and some well-written like content to get that discovered by new people and have that link back to your longer content. YouTube does this natively. Shorts can link to long videos. That's baked right into the platform. You can also take posts on, for example, LinkedIn, another channel I use, and you could say, hey, I did this thing. I'm telling you a story about how great it was. And then in your first comment under the post, you'd be like, you know, if you wanted to learn more about this, you can check out this thing. I'll email it to you for free. And then you have moved people into a newsletter scenario. You have not asked them for money. You are not saying, please buy my thing. You're just moving them one step further. And you can have one step kind of feed the other. And even if you're doing organic and paid in parallel, really great organic content just becomes really great paid content. So all of these things dovetail. That's what I want to emphasize, is that it doesn't feel like you're doing disjointed efforts. And the good, annoying thing about marketing is that really great marketing doesn't feel like anything's happened to you. So from a customer's perspective, from a buyer's perspective, I should not even notice that Apple has already won my business for a phone I haven't bought yet. They should just have, if you do it right, it doesn't feel like they're being pitched, sold, coerced, or otherwise convinced of something. I just already have my mind made up. And that's where it's like magic is where it starts to work. There are two concepts also I want to emphasize here real quick. One is friction and the other is inertia. So if you guys don't know, I'm a nerd. I'm a marketing nerd, but I also studied engineering as in university as my education before I went into not engineering as a profession. So, and it was mechanical engineering. So I studied a lot of physics. Friction is the resistance when you try to slide something on a surface. This is a metaphor that's used a lot in buying journey and acquiring members in particular. The harder it is, the more resistance to an action that is trying to be taken, the more likely people are to abandon it. So if you have them come to a landing page and they don't know where the sign up button is easily, they don't have time to figure that out. They have options. There are competitors out there. There's mom texting them. There's the kids asking for a snack. There's 1,000 things vying for our attention. And if that CTA button, that call to action button, is not visible easily, it might as well not even be there. You might as well have not even had the traffic. In fact, statistics show you have less than 3 clicks to convert somebody when they arrive from where they are to what we want them to do. And I say less than 3 clicks because I think it averages out to like 2.7, which is really annoying because you think about it, it basically just means you have 2 clicks to get them to do what you want. So they see you in the feed. There's a link in your comment. That's 1 click. Okay. You have 1 more click, basically. So if they click and then they're like, oh, here's more information, click, here's the pricing, click, here's the checkout, they're done. They're not doing it. It's too much friction in the process. So the trick is as you build this funnel and you look at all the different ways somebody could move from unaware to purchasing, is that they need to be able to do so as frictionless as possible. So convenient placement of conversion. This is as simple like on a landing page having more than 1 conversion button. That's easy. 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom. That's less friction. They don't have to scroll back up or scroll all the way to the bottom. You can have a link below your posts in LinkedIn, but you can also have a link in your featured section or a link above in your bio if you're using LinkedIn, or you can have a link in bio on any platform, right? There are a variety of ways that you can make it very easy when someone feels the moment that they're ready to switch categories, that the action is there for them to do so. When I start to feel like I'm willing to trust you, where's that $1 offer? Where's that low risk exchange? Those need to be nearby. Inertia is another physics concept that applies here. And this is where one effort leads to another. Now, I did mention this with trust, and that's a lot where inertia builds. You are actually already building trust from the very beginning of somebody becoming aware of you. You're just not building enough trust to do anything with it, to have true leverage. When you show up in a feed and you have a hook, the opening line of your post, the opening first few seconds of a video that says, you're not going to believe this one crazy tip that I figured out this way, and I'm going to tell it to you right now. If you then don't have a crazy tip that's valuable, what do we call that? We call that clickbait, right? We have traded on their trust to exploit them for the consumption. At that moment, you are missing out. You are missing out on building that trust and creating compounding effort to move forward. But if you do it right, if you deliver on that click, on that clickbait becomes delayed gratification, but there is gratification, then you are already starting to build momentum. Then by the time they get to trust building, they'll come into, okay, Mike's got a free tier in his community. I'll sign up for the free trial. That's cool. I'll try that out. Awesome. Okay. Mike promised that I don't have to put my credit card in for that free trial. Look, he didn't ask me for the credit card for the free trial. Awesome. He did what he said. Okay. And he's like, oh, this is so fun. All these pro features are great. And then the free trial is over. They're like, you know what? That's worth it. I think I want to stick around. I think I'll subscribe. Okay, cool. Let me do this membership. Oh, great. It's $20 a month or whatever. It's like there's a natural elevation of trust. And once people start coming in, I have more readily upsold members to higher tiers because I've over delivered at the beginning. And it makes that staircase where that first step is super high, it's taller than you are. Subsequent steps are less tall and less tall and less tall. There's less effort to make each step going forward. It'll never get harder than it is at the beginning. And the last little adorably nerdy thing I'll share about friction and all of this is when you slide an object on a surface, you ever notice that there's a lot of friction to get it to break loose, but then there's less friction to keep it moving? That's a physical reality called like static friction, dynamic friction. When you overcome the grippy force of it being still, you have more than enough force required to keep it moving. So if you can achieve the first barrier of getting motion forward on growth for your memberships, you have more than enough chops to keep that growth moving forward. It's that first bit, that first sale, that's the hardest one. Everything after that, you've proven you can do it and you can carry that forward. And then, like I said, all of this is nonlinear. Sometimes people start liking who you are. Maybe they camp out there for a year, just liking you, but they're not interested. Maybe they become aware of you and then they forget you exist. And then they have to become aware again. You can come forward and backward in this path. We draw it as a funnel, but you need to constantly be working all these stages because this is what moves folks through in aggregate as opposed to moving them through one at a time, the way you would from in a sales motion. So as a reminder, all of that detail, it boils down to 4 simple steps. People need to know you. They need to like you. They need to trust you. Then they'll buy from you. You can't skip it. People don't buy from people they don't trust. We buy from people reluctantly for like critical things like, oh, I don't know, we might pay our water bill because we like to not be dehydrated and die. We might not even like the customer service at the utility provider. But we know the water will come if we pay them. There's enough trust that the transaction takes place. The higher the promise, the more you move away from utility to actualization, to transformation, the more trust becomes important. So knowing where your offer stands determines how much trust you need to clear in order to convert someone into a buyer. So that's the topic I wanted to deliver today. I want to see if we've got questions, start workshopping some different solutions, and let you guys know that I forgot to put the G in marketing. That's funny over here. But you can reach me if you want to see how like I put this into play in a sales page. You could check out my landing page for my community. It's called The Gym. My whole brand is called Marketing Muscle because I'm fitness and marketing. And so join.marketingmuscle.online. You can just see where this looks like. And if the question comes up, I can always demo that if you guys want. And of course, if you want to follow the content that I produce, my awareness and trust building content, LinkedIn's one of the best platforms you can follow me on. I think it's just marketing-muscle, marketing with a G, which I didn't type in on this slide, just so you guys know. All right, Jessica, Kim, questions, things that I can answer about what you are doing today. How would this apply to your business? I just want to make sure that this is relevant to you.
Thanks, Mike. Great. Totally resonate with that. I have been in business for a long time, running different businesses.
Yes.
I have built communities, but not as an online membership. So, yep, absolutely.
In real life, offline memberships. Yes.
Yes. Yep. So that's my thing, is that more people on, offline. My new membership will be a sort of hybrid model of online and offline in terms of events.
Okay.
So my sort of I suppose strategy for growing my members is about being people know me because I've been around for a long time. I'm bringing a lot of things that I've done in the past back into this sort of membership. So it's kind of going back to the emails as well for old, people who perhaps haven't been in contact with me for a while, but I've still would still know me. So that's the
Sure.
awareness stuff is coming back out saying, you knew me when I was running happiness clubs. That was
Right. So
15
now
years
they need to become aware of you and affiliate you with the new
with
offer.
with yes, I have.
Right.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is now this. I've been running a book publishing company, so and now I've got a lot of experience from different elements of that. Bringing it all into a community that is effectively a business network
Right.
that is event based. So we're teaching things around sort of personal growth, spiritual growth, and business awareness, but it's all around kindness and collaboration. So
Right.
there's no coaching involved. I'm
You're a connector.
facilitating the
You're
space, and yeah, that's the connection. Yeah, that's it.
got
It's
it.
the connection. So yeah, so it's a bit of a different sort of model, I suppose, than come in here, we're going to deliver this. So it's showing the connections and the learning opportunities and just going deeper in conversation
Right.
is something that people are searching for.
So
So that
your marketing is going to center around giving people the chance to get a peek into what these types of conversations are like.
yeah,
That's the sort of problems that these conversations facilitate solutions around. That's your
yeah,
awareness. When
yeah,
they start liking the way that you address
yeah,
these problems, they like the fact that you do events, that's going to build affinity. And then when they start seeing themselves in the examples that you share, they're going to start building trust that you can deliver that and
yeah,
start considering. So that's how this would apply into your model.
yeah,
And
yeah.
hey, Jessica, great to see you. Thanks for popping on. Did you have a question too?
I don't know if it's so much of a question. I was on a walk. That's why I didn't think you guys really wanted to see that.
Not a problem.
I was just listening along. Yeah, I think these are all kind of things that I'm already implementing. I think I'm charging too little for my membership
Okay, why do you feel that way?
because I'm attracting a lot of like looky-loos kind of thing. Like we have a 7-day free trial.
Hmm.
It's only $17 a month, and I think we provide, and I've been doing a lot of research on other kind of memberships and stuff like that. And like I'm busting my ass for lack
Okay.
of better words. Like I am like turning out some great content and like also providing live support circles.
Okay.
Um, like I think we're up to like 5 or 6 a week,
My goodness. That is,
$17 a month. Like,
you might want to look. Okay, so there's a couple of things I have here, thoughts. And I'm going to try to
sure.
keep this as short because obviously I want to respect everybody's time that we're close on the hour here. But the pricing
Mhm.
is a very tough question. We do have some
I
really
know.
great research. Actually, Gareth recently did a pricing tutorial. I don't know if you were able to catch that one in the Hearth. And
No.
there's a recording now. Misty, if you can grab that recording for us. Um, Talked about research that he had done into what value props correlate to what price points. That might help give you some
Oh,
really helpful stuff. I think that's going to be
okay.
an answer to that question for you. And then the
Yeah.
other thing is like there when
I
depending
also
on the
think the
model.
name of my membership is suggesting something too casual, and that's why I'm going to like change it.
Okay, that's
Um,
another awareness that's very, so that's a branding affiliation, right? So that's
yeah.
something to think about. The other thing
Yeah.
is too is like if like my model of my community, it's truly freemium. Like they join in a free trial, you get
Yeah.
access to all the pro stuff for a week, and then by default they drop back to a free tier, which restricts the volume of access that which keeps me and my time constrained appropriately. That's the way I set my model up. And then my goal is to nurture free up to paid over time. Like that's the way that I run mine. My
Okay.
model relies on volume. Like it relies on a large number of folks coming in and trying every week. And then that creates a dynamism in the environment and et cetera, et cetera. Maybe your model, because
Yeah.
there's so much white glove service, is
Mhm.
better suited to better pre-qualifying people just a little bit better so that you, through naming or through pricing, filter out the looky-loos so that you get folks who are a little bit better fit for who you are
Yeah,
and
I
what
mean,
you're
I don't
offering.
mind people coming in and looking. It is, a sensitive topic.
Sure.
Um, we help women change their relationship with alcohol. Um,
Yeah, so naturally that's going to be heavier a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you'd think. I mean, we have a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've noticed like there's definitely like a higher churn that I would like.
Do you
Uh,
know what churn percent you experience offhand? Like,
oh
I,
God, I don't even know how to
okay, so in a given period
do
of
that.
time, so here I'll give it to you the math, and you can just
Okay,
work on this on your own then.
sure.
So let's say you have over a week, you have 10 free trials over the course of a
Okay.
week. What percent of those free trials ultimately decide to purchase? You either can, and you can do this in two ways. You can do it during that week,
Yeah.
or you can look and say, like, how many of them purchase ever, but you cohort
Okay.
it by week. So you say, okay, week one, 10% converted, 1 out of 10. Week
Yeah.
two, 0 did. Week three, 2 did. So that's 20% converted.
Okay.
Then you know your free to paid, then you know your trial conversion rate. And then you say, okay, of all of the customers that I have, let's say I have 10 paying customers, how many of them did not renew each month? What percent did not renew?
Sure.
So if I have
Okay.
10 customers in April, in May, I have 9 of them stick around. I had a 10% churn,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
In general, if you do everything right, you're going to have a 7% churn every
Regardless.
opportunity that in general,
Okay.
that's like if you average every subscription service on earth together, it's
Okay.
7%,
Okay.
right? Now, if you go to like gym memberships, like not my gym, like a physical, actual like Planet Fitness kind of a gym,
Yeah.
um, it's like 35% churn. And that's
Right.
normal for them. You need to find out what your normal is and are you above
Yeah.
or below or at that number? And then you need to build a growth acquisition plan that outpaces that. Because
Okay.
you could reduce some churn. If you're like, oh my gosh, I'm at
Maybe I'm
35%
just a
churn.
little too sensitive then.
Well, it could be
Because like what
also,
you're saying, I'm like, okay, I'm like, I guess I'm kind of average, but like,
yeah.
what? Why are you leaving?
I know. Oh, trust me, I feel the same thing. It's like, oh, every customer, like it's my friends. They're like my friends. I brought them
Yeah.
in and I'm helping them, right?
Yes.
But life happens. Like I had a
Yeah.
member churn out, and like she had a daughter, her child got cancer, and then she got cancer, and I'm like, you got enough on your plate. Like it's not anyone's fault. Like go
Yeah.
take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
I still feel bad. I would love her to still be around. I'm like,
Sure.
can I do something special? I'm like, but I'm not a cancer survivorship community. Like I'm not that. Like that's not what the person needs right now. So
Exactly.
there's gonna be
Exactly.
churn, and
Yeah.
it's not like you have to be uh, apathetic to it. You have to just treat it like a true data point. And
Okay.
if your sample sizes are so small that it's like like 2 people, 1 person join a week, so then
Mhm.
you have 100% retention or 0% retention. That's not a truly good signal. You got to pick a wider time interval. You got to start looking over the course of months. You guys
Yeah.
are in a 6 month cohort right now. Start looking monthly or look at the whole 6 months when you get to the end about how did I do total. This way, you have
Okay.
enough data in there to actually get a real good signal.
Okay.
There's also a session about churn. Misty threw in a link about pricing. There's also
Perfect.
a Hearth session about churn reduction. Um, Guys, if you haven't checked out the Hearth resources, go scroll through some of those things. Super helpful. Um, Pricing, churn reduction, all of that is going to be really great for you.
Okay.
I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. We do got to wrap
Yeah.
this up. Misty, normally I do the outro. Can you do the outro because I did the middle part? Oh, there's the recording.
Hey, yeah,
Awesome.
so I was
Okay.
grabbing the link and I was muted. Okay, so that I just put in the other link for the talk on churn.
Churn.
And
Okay.
Jessica, I set up your community, so I know what's in there, and you
Yeah.
definitely could be charging more. But I also think, as far as churn
Okay.
goes, like you have such a topic where it's like you help somebody and they might be like, I got what I needed, and I'm good, right?
True.
And that's
True.
a win, to some degree. Maybe you just need
I know
something
we're
else to
doing too
offer
good.
them.
We're too good at our job.
Yeah, and maybe you just need some other thing that you offer people who have churned out. Maybe they are at like a different stage and they, didn't feel like they needed to stay for like the community aspect of it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's something else that you can offer them when they're not a member anymore. I don't know, just an
Yep.
idea.
Totally. That makes
All
sense.
right. Not much for an outro, but I do want to invite you guys to come to our April town hall tomorrow. So if you just want to stay on top of like what's new in Heartbeat, what's coming up, you have feature requests, whatever it might be, some kind of feedback that you want to give, definitely show up for that. And then next Wednesday, we have a tutorial with Laura Zug. and she's going to be talking about creating your strategic framework for 2025. So just kind of planning out what you're doing with your community for the rest of this year. So that would be another really good one to come into.
I
And
think there's
thank you,
like
Mike.
300 people coming to that one too. So like, yeah,
Yeah, I don't
wildly
know if it'll
popular.
be that many because she was a reschedule. So the original RSVPs are like maybe some
Oh,
of them
okay.
have changed
But
because the date has
but
changed.
still,
But
yeah,
it's gonna
that's
be,
pretty
people
good.
love Laura in our community. She's pretty well known in there, pretty helpful in the hearth. So definitely that will be a good one to come to. She's such a sweetheart too. But yeah, and again, thank you, Mike. This was
Oh, you're
like a
welcome.
good basics on, you know,
Yeah. Just the
how to
found
get people
sometimes
in.
revisiting the foundations are the most important thing because they never stop being important. And it's
Yeah.
very easy to have them become unhealthy. I'll speak from my experience. When you start getting into fancier stuff, it's worth circling back and make sure you got that fundamental journey mapped out and fulfilled properly.
Yeah,
So
something I was thinking about while you were talking is like, I know early stages, one thing I learned is like, you're going to either spend time or money growing your business and getting eyeballs on your stuff. So like you were talking about reaching out to, you know, like 60 people, that's
yeah.
time, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, I was doing some of that. I was posting in group, like Facebook groups. I was like creating blog posts, right? That's time to try to like build up the SEO. And I wasn't spending money yet, right? And then you start spending money on stuff to maybe drive eyeballs to the things that you spent all that time creating, and you know,
Yeah.
strategy changes. So you know, and I was just thinking, you know, I've been like so crazy this last couple months. I'm not really spending a lot of time or money. So like, I better get back to
It's
that.
good to catch that on yourself.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah,
And
like
Jessica,
it's
that's part of it too. Like you mentioned how you're busting your butt on this whole thing. It's like there might be a scalable way to address that, or the fact that you're just in that early stages sinking resources in time, energy, money, right? There could be that early on, and then that becomes leverage you can then work and use later. So that could be something too,
yeah.
depending on
And
what
it's like it's
stage you are.
okay, especially in the beginning, like to have that hustle mentality, but that's not sustainable. And you know, at some point you got to like pull yourself out of the weeds of your business a little bit and either like hire something out, automate something, get, you know, start putting money into it because now you know that you can draw people in, all that good stuff. So Mike, do you know what is the next Black Friday cohort? I know we don't have a date yet, but it'll be probably towards the end of this month.
Yeah, it'll definitely be towards the end of this month. I know we are looking at, let me double check here, because I thought, there it is. The next one is going to be featuring Nick, and he'll be talking about all the ways that customer support can help you. So the goal for this is, we presume by month 5 you've run into some things. Maybe there's some things like either is it a bug? Is it your experience level with the platform? Is there a best practice that I'm trying to like reinvent the wheel, but there's actually a different way to do it like that? So that session is designed to provide a tailored customer support hour for you guys. And that'll come up towards the end of April. This one just kind of rolled over from March just a little bit. This was the March session, but I didn't want to put it on April 1st because nobody would show up. Everybody would think it was a joke. So
Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, ladies, for showing up, doing the
appreciate
do,
you.
and you know,
Thank
investing in your community in this way. And I hope to see you at the next one.
All right.
you. Thanks,
Take
Bye.
care,
Mike.
guys.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
luck.
Bye.
Bye.